Okay, so the stage is then, and this is just, for your own records. Capitalism to socialism to communism, back to capitalism to socialism, back to communism. Okay, so that's the path that they're on. If you want to write it down for yourself, capitalism, it has to go to capitalism after communism has ultimately reigned supreme. Because once capitalism reigns supreme for too long, it sucks all the energy out of everybody in the reality. You can look at the communist cultures, and it just drains the reality that it's in, because all the energy is going to that one person, that dictator that's on the top. You also have this root. So you start off. So the reason why capitalism reboots things is obviously capitalism is that I can become wealthy. I can actually live different than how everybody else is living. So this is always when everyone's coming off of having to live the same, and it's a poor condition. It's a wretched condition. And then somehow we go to a new place, a new world. Okay. Which is what happened with, Western expansion. We go to a new place, a new world. And then in this new place, new world, you're free from your old oppressor. So now there's no more Britain. There's no more taxation from aristocrats. There's none of that. Now we're in this new world. And now we're able to actually create our own thing, have our own businesses, and to become wealthy like the people who were once our oppressors. That's capitalism. Okay. And so it produces ideas, because the person starts saying, well, how am I going to get my piece of the prize? Right. But in that process, because, again, these systems, they run, but that ultimate purveying communist system is still always back there, guiding it back into that one world government kind of one controller kind of thing. It's like a spiritual monotheism. It's like an external monotheism where everybody serves one thing. But they got to lure them out. So that's, to me, with this whole technological thing. And then people just forgot about spirituality. They just don't know anything about spirits anymore. Don't know anything about their body. So they're drawn out of their shell completely. And then now that they're out of their shell, now they're all external. So now they need only external solutions. And they have no idea of what spiritual and internal solutions would look like. Right. And then when socialism comes in, socialism is to save their asses from communism. We're going through this phase right now. Communism does create the product of what we're seeing, capitalism, it creates the product of what we're seeing right now, where now there's so much money, especially after the printing of money, there's not enough resources. So meaning that there's way more money out there than there is things to buy. So as people kind of start spending more of this excess money that they have, because money printer go brr, and so as the more money comes in, it's like, well, there's less vegetables, there's less TVs, there's less cell phones, there's less everything to buy, because those are finite resources, right? So capitalism ultimately comes into this huge crash where the money becomes there's too much money, right? And that's kind of the phase that we're in now. And then they have to bring socialism in then, because it's like, well, inflation starts, the dollar's worth nothing. And then there's only this idea of, okay, well, everybody's health needs to be taken care of. All of the necessities, your health needs to be taken care of. Your food, your water needs to be taken care of. All these things need to be taken care of. But see, when someone else is taking care of you and it's the government, that's how you're giving up your freedoms. So that's what UBI is about. That's what stimulus check is. They were saying that when the stimulus checks start rolling out, they had help wanted signs everywhere. Businesses were hiring, but folks was like, well, shit, if these stimulus checks don't keep coming, why do I need to work? And many of those, mom and pop, a little bit above that, companies just went out of business because they didn't have anybody to work. So there were jobs that were open, but if you're going to pay me to stay at home, and I also feel a little more comfortable staying there anyway, I may not catch any of this crazy stuff floating around, I'm going to be more apt to stay at home. Now, the same thing is happening, of course, all around the world. Here in Costa Rica, the driving restrictions are so screwed up, it's based on the plates on the car. So if you have one plate, you can't drive 3 days out of the week. Right? So as a business, imagine this as a business. It's already difficult to attract people to your business anyway. Now you're going to get half of the people that you would normally get to the business because they can't even arrive, let alone if they even come out. So too much of that, which they've done in this country, it wrecked the economy. Now they have no choice but to go to the IMF to ask for money. So the first time they went to the IMF to ask for money, all of the Ticos and the people in the country, there was a real revolution, and they're about that life. They was out there blocking the roads where the trucks come down. They know how to get the government to act right. So the government's okay, we ain't going to borrow the money from the IMF. 2 months later, the pandemic hit so hard. Now the new pretense is we need to borrow money from the IMF in order to pay for the vaccination shots. The people haven't said anything because the COVID here is that wild as far as people are like afraid now. And they're like, yeah, get the money from the IMF, get money from anywhere, fix our problem. So do you see how that rolled out? They the same thing that they were fighting over now to not happen, they now welcome happening because they're in this position where they're afraid. So this is classic stuff, right? So this capitalism goes to socialism. Socialism's like, okay, well, the economy is destabilized. We need to stabilize it. We're going to give you stimulus checks. We're going to give you UBI. We're going to give you free medication. You can take these shots. We're going to help you. And it seems like what everybody wants for a minute. Great, our government's helping us. But then they flip the switch with now that they're paying you, now that you're depending on them, you're not a sovereign, you're depending on them. Now they come with the rules, and the rules segue into communism. Because it's all about basically what you see in China now. The credit, what do they call that? The China's credit system, right? And it's just based on if you're doing everything they want you to do, you rank a little bit higher. If you start looking at stuff they don't want you to look at, you start talking things that you're not supposed to be saying. Shoot, I probably got bad credit with these folks right now, so I can't depend on them, but you get the lower score. And this implementation of this system, I don't think is very far away on the side of America, because this is exactly what the plan was in the first place.